right, guys, so welcome back to building our accounting software with AppSheet. We're going to continue from where we left off. So in the last video, we created our balance sheet and we noticed that the issue we are currently having is that even though our income statement is looking good and then we are passing the right debit and credit transactions, our balance sheet is still not balancing. We're able to identify that the reason why our balance sheet is not balancing, like in this case, we have our income statement over here. When I come to my menu and go to balance sheets, I notice that asset is 900,000, whilst equity is 662,000. The difference, about 200,000, is what we have as profit. Now, this is normal because as a result of the way we pass the debit and credit, or ideally, which is the right way, the profits is currently just in the income statement, but we need to find a way to move it into the balance sheet. So I'm going to try and elaborate or explain this using a spreadsheet so you understand how it's working currently, and then explain how we're going to move the profits at the end of the year, right, to the balance sheet so that it shows profit in the balance sheet while also leaving our income statement with the profit we are supposed to have. So let's go into the spreadsheet and get an understanding of this. Okay, so now we are in a spreadsheet. This is just a demo framework I have built, firstly to explain how this works. Okay, so currently we have our income statement that shows sales, we have our cost of goods sold, we have our gross profit, operating expenses, and net profit, right? Now, throughout this course, we've understood how these lines interrelate to each other to get the net profit. And then we have our balance sheet lines. Okay, we have cash, receivables, inventory, and so on and so forth, all the way to assets, and all the way to total liabilities and equities. Okay, good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass some transactions. I've already created these transactions, right? And as I record them, I want you to see the effects they have on the balance sheet and the income statement. So the first transaction is debit cash and then credit equity. That's money has been injected into the business, 10,000. You see that? Second transaction, there's inventory purchase of 3,000. Cash reduces. Then you see inventory increases, but it's still all balance sheet lines. We have the third one where we purchased equipment, okay, for 5,000. Cash reduces further by 5,000. Equipment increases by 5,000. You can see that over here. The fourth one, right? We have inventory and then accounts payable. Okay, so inventory has, I think, increased. We've purchased inventory on credit, and then accounts payable has also increased. All these are still balance sheet items. You see, income statement hasn't changed, it's still zero, and then you realize that the balance sheet balances. Now, as soon as we have a balance sheet line, which is a sale, you have revenue of 4,000. Now, notice something, right? You see that you have 16,000 here as assets, but then you still have just 14,000 here as what? Equity. Do you get it? This is a cash sale. So the difference is your profit of 4,000. So every profit you are making is what's supposed to come over here, right? That's the difference between the two. So when I increase this 6, okay, the cost of goods sold of 2,000, that reduces this. So you see this has reduced to 14,000, and this is what, 12,000. The difference is this. So when I pass all the transactions, about 19 of them, right, all you see is that these lines generate your net profit. In this case, a net loss of 700, right? And then the difference between total assets and equity is the same 700 over here. So this 700 is basically supposed to come here at the end of the year to make this balance. Good. Now, this is simple in a spreadsheet sense. You can just do equal to that, and then you get it done. But then in the terms of an application, right, we need to actually have that flow into our equity. Is that okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to pass transactions. Okay, so I'm going to explain how we're going to do this. So we're going to pass transactions for each of these lines, okay? So at the end of the year, we're going to have something like this. So sales revenue currently is 7,500 on the credit side because it's income. So we'll debit that, and then we'll credit what we call profits, a profit and loss account. You see this of 7,500. like this. And that deals with sales. So let me copy this and paste this here. Now, costs of goods sold, okay, which is a negative, that's debit. So it's going to be credit here. I'm going to put 11,000. Sorry, it's going to be 4,300. I have to be careful. I don't complicate this. That goes to zero as well. Okay. Then we have operating expense. Now, operating expense is 3,900. Right. So operating expense, I'm going to, this case is debit, so I'm going to credit it. So I'm just moving everything from its original state to profit and loss account. So all these are going to happen at the end of the year. Do you get it? And this profit and loss account, what you're going to do is come here and say, okay, profit stroke loss account. We're going to do equal to sum, right? And I'm going to select all the credits, profit and loss account, items. So this, comma, profit and loss. This is debit, profit and loss. Is there another credit? So this one credit, and this debit. Okay, good. So I'm going to close this. Good. And then that is going to be moved to the credit side of the retained earnings. I have to make sure I'm spelling it the right way as well. Good. And then we'll do the same thing for the debit side, equal to sum, select all the debit lines. So this, and then this. Good. And then I'll move that to the debit side of the retained earnings. Good. So at the end of the day, right, if I copy this formula and I did it right and I paste it here, voila. You see that? So it brings this 700 into the retained earnings. Why is operating expenses not flowing good? So what happens is that this is actually showing what happens in the new year. So at the very end of the year, these set of transactions are going to be passed. Do you get it? And that actually reinstates the income statement to zero. And then every new transaction we have will now add up to what we have over here. Do you get it? So if, let's say, at the beginning of the year, we start another sales, where we make sales revenue of, let's say, 2,000. And that was, let's say, cash. So what do I cash? 1,000. You see that here becomes what, 2,000, right? And this one increases by 2,000. Do you see that? Good. But then we have our issue again. That has to wait till the end of the next year for that to happen. Okay, so basically that's the idea of how this is going to work. Now, because we don't want to have to come and do this manually or use an action to be creating these transactions, we are going to use a script. Okay. Now the good news is to reduce the stress. I've already created these scripts and I've made it available in the description of the video. So I'm going to bring the video in here so you kind of had a sense of how they're supposed to know. So if you go to any of the videos, right, and you go into the description, over here you see materials. Now when you click on materials, right, it's going to give you account software resources. Okay, all you need to do is just click on download, and this is going to download a zip file for you. Okay, so you just open that zip file. Okay, so when you open a zip file, you see something like this, right? What you want to do is come here and look for scripts to close income statement account doc, right? So we have two scripts. One is to close the income statement accounts, which was the first, which is a script that's basically going to do something like this. The script that's going to do this part, right? And then we have a script that's going to move the profit from the profit and loss account to the retained earnings. Is that okay? Good. So you just come here, you open this. Good. Then you see the function is run PL closing. So we're just going to copy this like this. Fantastic. I'm going to close this guy. Now we're going to come to our app and then come to view data source. Okay. And then when we come to view data source, that sends us to the spreadsheet. You click on this folder icon. Okay. Now what we want to do is just navigate to the folder where the spreadsheet is logged in. So I'm going to click this and I'm going to go there. Good. Now, once I'm here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an app script doc. Okay. Just like we created for this one, that allows me to be able to run the script. So I'm going to click plus over here. You see that? And I'm going to click more. Come and say doc app scripts. So create scripts. I'm going to go over here, Control A, copy this, and then don't copy, just Control A and then Control V to paste what you've copied. Good. All right. Now we want to replace this link to your sheet with the link to your doc. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to copy this link and then come here. Where's my app script? Here. And then I'm going to paste this. Okay, good. I'm not sure what that was. All right. So we have this in place. We have everything. Now let's save. Okay. We want to name the script. Good. So we'll say close income statements accounts. Year end close income statement account. Good. So what accounts to this? Oh, I didn't save this. Okay, I saved. And I want you to take a look at this. Okay, so currently we have about 251 rules. Okay, so I'm expecting the script to run through, and then what it's going to do is basically create lines that are going to move the income statement or close the income statement down at the end of the year. Now you'll be wondering, how does it close at the end of the year? What do you mean by that? So what happens is that you see we have an entry date. Okay, so it's going to create new rules that are going to have 31st December 2025 or whatever year we are operating in as the entry date. Do you get it? Good. As well as the transaction date. Okay, and then it's just going to close those lines down. So let me just run this script and get a better understanding. Click run. Review permissions. Okay. Advance. Continue. All right. So this has run executed. Let's see what happened. Okay, so you can see over here now we have some information over here that says done, 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 done throughout. Good. Now let's examine what actually happened. Good. So starting from here, we've had some new transactions that have been entered. Is that okay? So you see over here, these transactions. Now you see for all of them, their end date is 31st December 2025. You get it? So at the end of the year, what has happened is that it has moved these transactions to account number 2. Now, which one is account number 2? Do we have an account number 2? Good. We have an account number 2, which is profit and loss account. Okay. So all these have been moved into the profit and loss account. Is that okay? Good. So basically, as at 31st December 2025, what's going to happen is that all these transactions are going to run into effect and then they're going to close the accounts. Good. So we're going to have this in place. Now, that's one step. The next step is now to move what is inside the profit and loss account into the retained earnings because we don't want to have single transactions going to the retained earnings. That's why we're taking this approach. Is that okay? So we move everything to the profit and loss account and move it from profit and loss account into retained earnings. Or you can make the profit and loss account a sub account of retained earnings. Any way you want to do it, that works. Okay, so we have another script. So let me look for the other scripts. This script here says move PL into retained earnings doc. So I'll come here. and then I'll come and copy it. Ensure year-end formula. So just like I explained, right, this one is also going to move the totals for debits and credits from the PL into the retained earnings. We'll do the same thing. We'll come here, we'll click on this guy. Okay, click here. Good. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Okay, so we are here, and then we're going to come to new, Google App Scripts, create. Then Control A, Control V to paste, then save this, then we'll rename this, move from PL to retained earnings, rename. Okay, so before we run our second script, right, let's go ahead and look at how our app is looking at right now after running the first script. So I'll come here, I'll come to balance sheets, and then you see our balance sheet really hasn't changed, right? It's still 9091016, and then this is 66110. And then over here, we have our income statement, which is giving us zeros because we've run the account, the script, right? That's making everything zero. What we're going to do is we're going to put a cutoff that says that do not actually include transactions that are in the future. Because currently the 31st December transaction is in the future, right? So we'll put that cutoff over there, that date restriction over there. Okay, good. So now let's run our second script and then let's see what happens. Okay, so I made the same mistake over here as well. I need to bring my link, Control-C. There you go. Save and then run. Good. All right, so now let's see what happened over here as well. So come to the GL, good. And now we have two more transactions. For these ones, their script, their ID is just 2025, 2025. Okay. The year entered and the year of transaction are both the same. The dates, sorry, I mean the dates. Good. And it says move to retain earnings, move to retain earnings. So you see, this is debited to, and then the account credited is this. Now you have a function over here that's basically summing everything. It says so sum everything that has a description move to PL, where F, which is this, is equal to 2. 2 is our P&L account. And then D, which is this, where's D? D, which is this, comma, is equal to the year end. You get it? Good. So it's just summing everything, giving everything here nicely. Good, we have a function here that's doing that. Good. So now when we come into our account and we refresh, you notice that the profit is just going to be moved. Okay, so balance sheets. And we have this, retain earnings, this. Profit isn't moved. Okay, why is that not happening? Balance sheets. Good. This is our profit, 246,904.65. Okay. That's supposed to come here. 15 earnings. What am I missing? What am I missing? Okay, sometimes I just need to do this over here. I feel more comfortable when I do this in the main account than a preview. The preview sometimes does not reflect everything correctly. So let's go to balance sheet and let's see if it's working. Okay, no. So that means it's actually a problem. So balance sheet table. Okay. All right. So that means one of our lines basically is not showing as a balance sheet line. Interesting. Okay. So let's click on Go to data, click on preview. Okay. So what we're going to look for is retained earnings. This is going to be a very long search. Check at the bottom, like it at the bottom. Retained earnings. Do you have a retained earnings account? Yes, retained earnings. Okay. 7000200. Okay. Ah, interesting. Interesting. Do you guys see that? So this is 7000. Shouldn't this be 7002? Considering this is, where is it? 7000200. Okay. That means I need to make some changes over here. Details. Do we have a retained earnings account over here? 7000200. Okay, so we have retained earnings 2001, right? I believe this is the culprit of our problem. When I come here, if I paste this here, this should work. All right, let's refresh this guy. Did I lie? I didn't lie. Okay, so we have this, so 9091015, 9091016. I'm not sure where we are missing the decimal. Let's bring in the decimal place and let's see, maybe we can figure it out. Um, Total balance sheet. This should be here. Decimal. 1, 2. Done. Save. Okay. All right. So we are missing a 1. I'm not too sure why we are missing a 1, but I have to investigate and find that 1. Good. But clearly that's the understanding, and that's how it's supposed to be done. Okay. So once you run the scripts, you have your profits flowing into your balance sheet. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix our income statement so that even though we have our profits flowing to our balance sheet, we're not losing our income statement information until we move on to the next year. So we'll come here to accounts. We'll come here to, where is it? Income statement GL. Select all transactions where the statement is equal to income, transaction date is greater than this, or transaction date is greater than, okay, I think the main has to come in. So main list any of this and today. Close this. Fantastic. I'm going to click save and save this. Good. So if someone puts a closing date that goes beyond today, the income statement is where it's going to end up today. Let's see if that works. So balance sheet is here. Income statements. Good. Good. And our income statement is what is now flowing in. All right, guys. So basically, this is how you can actually ensure that your income statement and your balance sheet. Okay, so before we go, what we're going to do is we're just going to bring these two statements together in a dashboard view. So I'm going to create a view over here, call this statements, create new, statements, right? Make this a dashboard view. Bring our income statements, bring our balance sheets. Good. I'll place this as first. Save. Statements. So we have statements, you have COA, and we have statements. So these are your statements, the income statement over here, and this is what your balance sheet over here. And you see your balance sheet, what it balances nicely. All right, guys. So there are more things we can do, like taking away these amount dash BS, total amount dash BS. That's basically using a display name. So what you do is you just come over here, come to, where is it? Main over here, and all these over here. So amount dash, just call it amount. Okay, let me just quickly do that. This is total amount. So display name. Okay. Here, amount dash balance sheet. I'm just going to paste this guy here. Okay, done. And then total over here. Let's save this. So we come here, you see that's it's already showing. So we have amount, total amount, amount, total amount. Good. And then we have a much cleaner feel to this. All right, guys. So thank you very much for watching this video. And then we're going to do more to our accounting application. So see you in the next video.